This also is the gentle way we learned with Sid Banks, is especially for me and Ken in the early days when we were so resistant. Sid's words couldn't reach me intellectually. Intellectually, they disturbed me. They angered me. They frightened me. But it was his feeling. It was his feeling of certainty. It was his feeling of trust in following how his wisdom was unfolding and directing him to leave his work at a certain period of time, to come back to the island, to share more visibly with the world. We observed all that. We observed his trust. We observed his living in the moment, and we felt the feeling of that. And that woke our true self. That woke our true self in a way that, and to a depth that it hadn't before. As a child, felt at peace in nature and just the simplicity of life and, you know, going to get the cows, that kind of thing, not knowing what it was, but this childlike appreciation of peace, the simple enjoyment. But as I began to observe that in Sid, in someone who knew that, who lived in that place, that's what attracted me. That's what woke me up. It wasn't his words. It was that silent communicator of feeling, of experience, that I then too, and Ken, joined intuitively, without plan. You couldn't help it. You were just swept along with that feeling. Now, having said that, we didn't always join him. There were times where our intellect was the master, and I would hide from it. But more often than not, the feeling swept us along. We might question it after, like almost as if waking from a dream. Like, what was that? What happened? What magic does he have? Relating it always to him, that it was Sid and the feeling he was living in. It was years before I realized it was me. It was Ken. It was whoever I was speaking to when that started to happen in my sharing. I've just written something called Sharing in Shorthand, because that's what this simplicity offers. It offers experience, the experience of our true nature, in shorthand, so that you aren't the teacher, you're just sharing feeling. And the feeling that arises is the teacher. And so I have found, in a practical sense, that my mentoring sessions are shorter and simpler and deeper. And the work I do in programs is shorter, where we sit with the audience in perfect permission for longer and longer periods of silence. And I love this statement that came from a participant at the last school we did, where once again, and I think this might have been the 14th or 15th session of the school here on Salt Spring, where Chip and I just found the silences were longer and oftener in our school. And at one point early on, because there were so many new people, the most the largest audience we'd had. And I was so grateful that I said to the audience, as I could see after a long period of time, people were, starting to get like a little restless in their chair, and I knew then, it was time. And I thanked the audience for holding the silence. And a participant said, Elsie, it felt like the silence held us. And I thought, dead on, dead on. That's the silent communicator. It holds us. This spiritual presence, essence, holds us. And that's the certainty. When you experience that, that's the certainty.